Once you've decided who you're living with and where, then take your time. The Student Support Centre see more and more people every year who are signing a contract before Christmas. But there's loads of rented accommodation in Cardiff. Walking to lectures, you'll see dozens of to let signs, even in the middle of term. There's actually more student accommodation in Cardiff than students, so you have the upper hand. Remember this, and don't be fooled by rumours that all the nice places will go, and don't be rushed by landlords and letting agents. Once you sign the contract, you're legally bound by its terms, and you'll have to pay an administration fee and deposit. You could be forking out £200 to £400 7 months before you move in. It's better that that money stays in your pocket till you're 100% sure you're making the right choice. You can find a property through a letting agent. There are loads of them in Cardiff, but have a good look around. The Student Union letting agency in the Union building don't charge administration fees, whereas private letting agents do, so it's a good place to start. Check out their policies. It's important you're clear with a letting agent from the start, telling them where you want to live and how much you're willing to spend. It's also important at this stage to establish who your contract will be with. Often a letting agent will act as a go-between for your landlord and yourselves. You'll need a copy of the landlord's name and address, and the letting agent is legally obliged to provide this. Alternatively, if your contract is with the letting agent, ensure this is clearly worded in the document. You might want to rent through a private landlord. The Residences Office at Southgate House keeps a list of these, and you can also check notice boards around uni and adverts in the local press. So now it's time to actually look for a house. If you're viewing a property, make sure you arrange a time that everyone can get to. You're all signing a legal contract and forking out between £2 and £3 grand for that house over the course of a year. You wouldn't pay that much for a car without test driving it. So when you fix a time for a viewing, check the outside of the property. Look at things like the windows, doors and security, and whether there's parking. If the current tenants are in, don't be afraid to ask them about the landlord and what the street's like, and don't be rushed through the property. It's good to use the checklist downloadable from our website when viewing a house. The kind of stuff you're looking for are room sizes. Are they all equal? Is there heating? Do the taps work? Are there enough sockets in each room? Is it clean? Does the house need any work? Are all the appliances included in the rent, and are they working? Is there enough furniture for everyone? Are there smoke detectors or fire alarms in the house? Are there tools to maintain the garden? And is there enough parking? Security is an essential consideration when looking at a property, so check out the house you want to rent to see how secure it is. For example, are there locks on the windows and are they double glazed? Are there modern locks on the doors? How secure is the back of the property? Is there adequate street lighting and are you happy with the amount of it? And if you're renting a flat, then how secure are the communal areas? You can get a security checklist from the Student Support Centre website or from University Security on Park Place. It's also important at this stage to think about safety. All landlords letting property must have a current gas safety certificate and they have to show it to you, so ask to see it before you sign the contract. Make sure you're satisfied with what you've seen and that all your questions are answered. And if the landlord or letting agent promise to carry out any work before you move in, get that in writing and signed by them before you hand over any money. Before you sign a contract, you may be asked to pay an administration fee to the letting agent. But remember, if you use the Student Union letting agency, you won't have to pay this. For private agents, a fee is normal, but it should be a reasonable amount for the work done. You're basically paying for the organisation of the contract, and even if you decide not to go ahead with the letting agent, the fee is normally non-refundable. Get a receipt for any money you hand over, stating the date, payment method and what the money's for. Once you've chosen a property, it's time to make that decision legally binding by signing a contract. This will normally be an assured short-hold tenancy. You may all be asked to sign the same contract, which means you're all jointly and severally liable. This is called a joint tenancy. An individual tenancy would be where you all had a separate contract with the landlord, but normally students sign a joint tenancy. In joint tenancy agreements, each tenant has whole responsibility for the rent and property. Therefore, if one tenant decides to move out owing 10 months' rent, then legally you're all responsible. You may be asked for details of a guarantor when you sign the contract. This is someone who signs to say they'll be liable for your rent if you fail to pay it. Again, they'd have joint liability, so if one person leaves the tenancy, the responsibility for their rent can also be passed to your guarantor. When other tenants or guarantors are held liable for another housemate's rent, they can take that housemate through the small claims court to try and get the money back. Things rarely get to that stage, but it's important that you're aware of the differences between an individual tenancy and a joint one.